And then when you step into the new, you do something you've never done before, your mind can't create the same thing, because if you do the same thing, feel the same emotions, think the same thoughts every day, you create it on autopilot. If you step outside of the autopilot, you then create something new. So stepping into the unknown will put you into a new reality timeline matrix, almost in a way. Welcome to another episode of Into the Vortex with Aaron Doughty. I just got done recording this episode, and honestly, I know I say this a lot, but it's one of the most, I think, potent ones that I've shared. Some of it's a little bit repetitive of some of the stuff I've shared before, but I clarify it in a new way. And I share with you, using an analogy, how to shift to the reality you want and why the law of attraction is like you're attracting something outside from into here, but it's also re-emphasizing an identity that's not natural for, and you can't really attract something you're not. So when people want to attract love, it's looking to the outside to attract something that can only be realized on the inside. So it's going about it backwards. So in this episode, what I do is I'm going to show you step by step how to use that of what I call frequency shifting, and how this is really a new thing. I've known about it for a while, but I've been using certain meditation practices for literally neutralizing my old frequency to wire in my new frequency. So I've been using meditation and imagination, which I think is the bridge between these different radio dials, which I'll be talking about in this episode. And I give a lot of practical tips and energy dynamic examples of how you can literally shift your reality and how it can be instant. It can be super quick, but because we believe in our old story, because we have to do more and more shadow work to figure out this stuff, because we have to keep going into it, we keep ourselves many times trapped. And that's what I did most of 2020. I realized it's actually kind of a trap, me doing a lot of the shadow work, because it's kept me looking for more and more childhood wounds and all of this stuff, which I keep finding, but I realize I can let it go now. And when I let it go, I then have a clean slate to then create what I want from. And as I've been downloading this new awareness, it has completely changed my life. It has allowed things to come easier. Literally, synchronicity for me has increased tenfold. I think of things like, and they happen so quickly, like buying a house. I was like, you know what? I want to buy a house. And literally like 2 weeks later, I bought a house. And I bought a house in a place, Sedona. My house is being worked on right now. And they told me, by the way, 6 weeks to your house, like 6 to 8 weeks before the minimum to have your house remodeled. I said, no, I am going to find somebody that can do it in like 3 or 4 weeks. I found someone to do it in 3 weeks. And my house now be ready in about a week from now. And because I think that synchronicity, that intention, that clarity, that vibration, things are just happening quicker and quicker than ever before. And I think that we're on a time of the planet right now where the energy has increased. And as the energy increases and as your body increases in vibration, you're going to find that these things are just easier to manifest than ever before. But that brings me to another point. What and how do you feel in your body? The more shadow work I've been doing with my shadow integration coach, the more I've realized it really is our reality is a reflection on the outside of inside. So one thing I've been really focused on lately is increasing my own vibration. Part of that is through exercise, part of that through meditation, but there is a part of this that is also through diet and nutrition. And I think it is very important to put high vibrational supplements into your body. And one way that I do this every day is it's sometimes hard to get it all from Whole Foods. You know, I know sometimes eating you need a lot of servings of vegetables and fruits and stuff like that. But what I found to be the easiest and quickest way for me is using supplements. And supplements are and can be high vibrational, especially when they're organic. And there's one in particular that you guys have probably heard me talk about on the podcast before, but it really does work. It is something that helps me to be in high vibration. And I think that what we put into our body literally becomes a part of us. So the way that I break my fast every single day is I don't drink caffeine, I don't do coffee, which speeds up the biorhythms in the body, actually makes you age quicker energetically. I was listening to a guy, I think his name is Paul Chek, talking about this. Like it literally speeds up your vibration. You notice that people have been drinking coffee their whole lives. A lot of times they age a little bit quicker. Now, I don't drink coffee. People ask me how I have so much energy. It's not from coffee. It's not from some drug or anything, but one thing I do every day is something called Organifi Greens. It's this powder. I put 1 scoop in with water. I mix it up. Tastes delicious. I drink that. That's how I break my fast, and that's the first thing I put in my body. That gives me energy. I feel high vibration. It's got something in it called ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is an adaptogen herbal supplement that helps with stress, managing stress so that you feel more calm and relaxed so that my energy isn't so kind of bombarding. But at the same time, it's got 11 other superfoods in it that help with energy and are very good to be getting into the body. So I use Organifi every day. It's very powerful. It's the highest vibrational supplements that I found. They're tested organic before and after they are made. And it is what I use for energy. So if you ever wonder, why does Aaron have so much energy? Well, one, I'm in alignment. I'm doing what I love for a living. But the other side of this is I don't drink caffeine. It's no other quick fix. But Organifi Green Juice is the name of it. It's called Organifi Green Juice is what I use every single day, and I found it to be the most powerful thing for my energy, and I highly recommend you guys try it out. And I've teamed up with Organifi. They sponsor the podcast because I'm such big fans of them, and they give you guys 15% off. All you got to do is go to Organifi.com/Aaron. That's Organifi.com/AARON. Use the code Aaron15 at checkout. You'll get 15% off. You can try Organifi Green Juice. I use their protein, which is vegan protein. That's the best tasting vegan protein I've ever found. I get the chocolate, and what I do is it has naturally in it digestive enzymes and other things that help it to digest well. And yeah, just a huge fan of Organifi. I use their products every day. It's something I really use, and I really think has helped me to raise my vibration. And it's something I recommend that you guys use too. So if you want to support the podcast, you can do that, and you can raise that vibe. You go to Organifi.com/Aaron. Use code Aaron15 at checkout. So with that being said, let's get into this rest of this episode right meow. Welcome back to another episode on Into the Vortex with Aaron Doughty. My name is Aaron Doughty, and I'm going to be showing you into the vortex. And today, we're going to be going deep on understanding something that I call frequency shifting. And really, it's what I think the movie The Secret, when I talk about manifestation in general, I think that they're all pointing to this thing. It's just that it's more of a quantum physics type thing. So it doesn't maybe sound as appealing or as simple. It is super simple, by the way. What I share with you in this episode will be so simple, even though there'll be different nuances of it, that it'll be very practical, very easy for you to apply. And it's really this new way that I've been going about creating what I want in my life, shifting to a completely new reality. And it's going to include some stuff that I've talked about before, but there's, I think, a way of me languaging it that's going to be a little bit different than usual. And it really looks at the notion of attracting something into our lives, because the more I go down this rabbit hole of understanding how consciousness works and reading different books and looking at mystics, people who are enlightened and what they say, and really just going within myself to see what really resonates as well, the more ridiculous, I was thinking of Harry Potter when there's like this thing called a Bogart in the third movie and third book. And this Bogart's this thing that's like this that turns into whatever your biggest fear is. And the way that they get rid of this thing is it comes out of like a closet or a dark space, and it's like the thing you fear the most. The way you get rid of it is you think about it in a funny way, and you say the word ridiculous. And as you say that, you think of it in a funny way, and then that reframes so that it doesn't have power over you. So for example, one of the kids was like afraid of spiders. So the spider came out, and he said ridiculous, and he thought about it in a funny way, and the spider then had skates, and it was like skating around, and it couldn't get its bearing because it has 8 legs. And then another one was afraid of a professor there named Professor Snape. Snape came out in like a handbag, like he came out scary, and then he said ridiculous, and he was wearing his grandma's handbag and stuff, the kid's grandmother's handbag, and it made it look funny. And ridiculous is a way of also letting go of that negative meaning that some things have over us, even our biggest fears. If we can reframe them and see them almost in a cartoonish-like way, we find that then it doesn't have as much power over us. So I know that's kind of a tangent, but it's actually not, because in a little bit when I explain some things, it's going to actually be one of the meditation processes that I've been using to get through certain fears and to let go of certain energies. So But the general notion is that with the movie The Secret, it's like I'm going to attract that into my life. Attraction. You are constantly attracting things into your life. Attracting, I don't think is the correct word. When we use the word attracting, it's like I lack something, so I'm going to attract that thing over there into here. The challenge is that what a lot of people do is they then want things. And when you want something, you are not in the frequency of it. Because if you want love, it means you do not currently have love. It means you don't feel the self-love for yourself. And because you lack it, you continue to have a more needy energy. You find that when you're dating somebody, you put them on a pedestal, or you go on a date with someone, you put them on a pedestal. You'll find that your energy isn't as magnetic. And one of the reasons this is because this is the way it works. It's all about frequency. And quantum physics will understand this more and more going forward. It will be more and more understood that if there's something you quote unquote want, it means you lack it. Think of the universe as a radio dial. If you are tuned to a certain radio dial, a certain radio station, you're not going to pick up what's on the other station. So there's a radio station of you lacking love, of you lacking abundance, and there's a radio station of you having love, having abundance, and there's a radio station of you being love and being abundance. And that's this higher level that I want to talk about today when it comes to frequency shifting. It's understanding that just like a radio dial, just like a radio station, I know I've used this analogy before, but just like there's a radio dial that is tuning to different frequencies that already exist, there is a version of you that is living your dream lifestyle, that is in the perfect relationship that already exists. And the challenge is that because you want that reality, you then feel a lack of that reality, and it's keeping you trapped into the radio station of 92.8, which 92.8 is the radio station where you feel stuck. Now, here is some of the things that I've learned about frequency shifting over the last couple months, and the game changer with this whole process for me. So first off, I've been doing a massive amount of shadow work over the last 6 months to a year. And the shadow work has been very life transforming. Now, when I talk about my shadow, I'm talking more specifically about the unconscious parts of myself that I was prior unaware of. Some of it had to do with a people-pleasing mentality that I believe I got when I was a child. And it was from trying to please my ex-stepmom, who many of you may know my story, but had an abusive and controlling ex-stepmom in my life from 7 to 16. And during that time, I had to please and I had to be a certain way in order to survive, in order to literally have enough to eat. I had to suck up, and then funny enough, what's interesting is after that, my dad divorced her, I had all this freedom. I attracted or frequency shifted, whatever term you want to use, to jobs where I also had to kiss ass to the people that were the corporate managers and stuff. So it was a similar dynamic that played itself out over and over and over again because I was used to that frequency and I believed I deserved that frequency. In order for me to be worthy, I had to try to exchange my own value. I had to be nice to people. I had to suck up. This mentality was a shadow part of myself that was literally getting off to validation. Somebody would validate me or be happy with me and I would feel good. I was always people pleasers generally come from being parent pleasers growing up, from having a parent that you had to please. And it's a pattern that then remains on autopilot. Now, the challenge with this is that, well, guess what? When you have this pattern, you realize different things about yourself. The kind of people you attract into your life, the kind of relationships you attract in your life tend to be based on that shadow of validation, of people pleasing. So this year of 2020, I've become aware of this pattern and I've shifted this pattern. However, the interesting thing for me is that when I look to my past, I can look and I can see past experiences where maybe that developed, do the ridiculous thing where I look at a past experience and can tell that at a certain point I made the decision that in order for me to be worthy, I had to get people's validation. I look even, in some ways I think this could actually have served me because when I got on YouTube, it wasn't like a draining, like a very crazy need, like I need validation from people for me to feel good. But I think that underlying a lot of myself was an energy of like, oh, it'd be really cool to like help people and to have help people then I'll feel even more worthy and I'll feel even better about myself. And I realized that some of that was from having a self-worthiness or a self-image that wasn't seeing myself as worthy just for being me. I had a self-image to where I was worthy if I was doing XYZ. My identity was literally tied to what I was doing and the value I was putting out into the world, rather than me having inherent value for being myself. So when I got on YouTube, maybe it served me for me to want to add value to people. It served me for I developed a rock hard mentality around being a hard worker. And that became a thing in of itself that I eventually kind of had to shed. Not that I'm not a hard worker now, but believing that I had to work hard in order to be successful. And there was different notions and different beliefs that I think were underlying me transitioning from working a 9-to-5 job to doing what I love and to helping people and, creating content. However, with that being said, I can look back and see how some of those motivations were rooted in my shadow. The trap that I think I fell into in 2020, though, was the more you look for something, the more you find it. And I think that it can be beneficial for us to become aware of different patterns in our life. I was becoming aware of the pattern of the people-pleasing thing, of wanting validation, of realizing also the dynamics of my own relationships. It's funny, the more I've worked with my own shadow work coach, I have a shadow work integration coach that is this guy with a double PhD that has been helping me for the last 4 or 5 months now, which has been great. But I become aware that a lot of the patterns that I find myself in are familiar, comfortable patterns based on childhood. I've attracted certain type of women into my life, or frequency shifted, and feeling comfortable with that. And a lot of this also had to do, this year of shadow work for me, was about me coming into my own frame of energy, me not needing anything other than me being in my frame. And by frame, I mean being the star of my own show in a way. And I realized that there was this tendency, because my brother and I had to adapt to our ex-stepmom's frame in order for us to get by. There's this pattern where in certain relationships, I would do things that would feel safer if I was doing them with other people. This is a clip from the Daily Vortex podcast, where I post 2 times a week, and we go really deep on understanding consciousness, understanding how to raise our vibration, how to bring these spiritual concepts down to earth in a relatable and practical way. For the whole entire episode, you can click the link below, but also subscribe to that of the Daily Vortex podcast on either iTunes or Spotify. That's where there are a backlog of over 100 episodes, plus the whole entire episode length is there. On this channel, you will only be seeing clips moving forward. So if you want the whole episodes, you can click the link below. You can subscribe. They're also very easy to listen to. They're automatically downloaded once you subscribe, plus you'll never miss an episode. So this is where most of my intention is and my energy is going these days, and I look forward to bringing you many more amazing episodes. But for the rest of this episode, you can click below and you can subscribe to the Daily Vortex podcast, and I look forward to helping you expand your consciousness in a very practical and relatable way. So I'll see you on the next episode, and as always, peace, much love, and namaste.